button. And there'll probably be some more people that hop on as I'm going through the first couple of things. And I'm going to add something to the chat. If you can add your name, your pronouns, your farm name, and where you're located, that'd be great so that we can know who everyone is, except for Abby, because she's driving. So please don't do that, Abby. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. All right, so welcome everyone to our workshop tonight on USDA safety net resources and the farmers who've used them. I'm Emily Round. I work for New Entry Sustainable Farming Project. I'm the technical assistance manager there, and we are the ones putting on the workshop tonight. Just to do a quick tech check, please rename yourself and add your pronouns so that we know who you are. You can add to the chat your name, your pronoun, your farm name, and where you're located so we can all get introduced. Please mute yourself until the Q&A session. If you have any questions, add them to the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat as we're going through to see if any questions pop up. I will not be monitoring them this very second while I'm presenting, but I shouldn't be presenting for too long. The mission of New Entry Sustainable Farming Project is to improve our local and regional food systems by training the next generation of farmers. We help them grow food that is sustainable, nutritious, and culturally appropriate and accessible to all individuals. Located in Beverly, Mass, on ancestral, traditional, contemporary, and unceded lands. New Entry has a few different project areas that we work in. We do farmer training. We have a food hub, and we also run a national incubator farm initiative. For the farmer training, which is part of what you all are taking part in tonight, we offer different courses such as Explore Farming. We offer a farm business planning course, a crop production course, and a few other courses. We have workshops on things like food safety, direct marketing, and record keeping. We also run an incubator farm where we provide technical assistance to new farmers. We give them access to a 1/4 acre to an acre of land, access to equipment, and a market channel, which is our food hub, that they can sell produce through. If you are interested, we are looking to recruit some small-scale veg, flower, and herb farmers that have 2+ years of growing experience to our benchmarking study. The benchmarking study is to help farmers be able to compare their performance against other producers at similar scales and enterprises, and improve their farm business management and record-keeping practices, and to develop strategies to increase their profitability. It's a pretty cool study. A lot of the studies that have been done that we have access to, or that the general public has access to, are done on big wheat or corn or soy or dairy farms. So there's not a lot of data on smaller farms. If you're interested in joining the study or seeing if your farm is eligible, it is paid. You can drop your email address in the chat and I will follow up with you later. It's pretty easy. All you have to do is fill out some surveys with your farm's financial data. It's all anonymized and it would help us a ton. We need about 30 farmers to get enough information that is to be helpful to other farms. And we need more help. So if you can help, that would be great. We have a YouTube channel, which you can go to. You can take a virtual tour of the New Entry campus. We've got some beautiful old buildings and some nice greenhouses and a bunch of other fun videos that you can watch, including other workshops that we've done. This workshop is part of a series on record keeping. It's to help farmers with a strong foundation and financial management, production and marketing analysis to enhance risk management capabilities. This is the third one in the series, or not the third one. It's the third one in the series with about access to USDA programs and services. And we'll be hearing from some farmers tonight also. And we're also doing a series with the Carrot Project and doing some on-market channel risk assessment and point-of-sale market data collection. So if you are interested in those, we will probably be sending you out information after this about more of them. For resources from this workshop and the other workshops that have been in this series, you can go to the New Entry website and follow the little chain from resources down to climate record keeping to find slides, to find recordings, and to find resource sheets from the previous workshops. Because this workshop is funded by a grant, there's going to be a poll before and after each session. The poll after the session will come up theoretically after you close out this webinar. Please, please, please fill it out. It helps us to continue to have more free workshops. It helps us know if our workshops are actually helpful or if they are annoying or what have you. So it'd be great if you can fill them out. And I'm going to pull up a poll right now that you can fill out, and it's only 4 questions, so it should be pretty quick. Again, thank you for filling it out. It keeps these workshops funded and helps us know whether or not our workshops are making a difference. For tonight's session, we have a tight schedule. We are going to have Lyndon from USDA speaking at 6:10 to 6:25, Jack from NRCS from 6:25 to 6:40, Alice from FSA from 6:40 to 6:55. We'll have Jorge on from 6:55 to 7:10. Farmer Anna will be on from 7:10 to 7:25, and Mac will be on from 7:25 to 7:40, and then we'll have the last 20 minutes for question and answer. If you have questions as we're going along, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll see if we have time to answer them as we're going along. Thank you to our funder, Northeast Extension Risk Management Education, the USDA, and the USDA NEFA Award number. And thank you all for coming too. Without you, we wouldn't have a workshop tonight. So we are right on schedule. Let's see. Going to close the share, and then Lyndon, you can pull up your slides and you can go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, Emily. Let me just share. So I did pull up some slides. Why can't I see that? The share button was just here. There it is. Everybody see my screen?
Yep.
I'm going to turn my video off, I think. Well, if I can. So thanks again, Emily. I appreciate you including us in the workshop. So I work for USDA Rural Development. We're a Southern New England jurisdiction, so I cover Connecticut, Massachusetts, as well as Rhode Island. My name is Lyndon Nichols. I'm an area director. I work on the economic development and outreach for our 70 plus loan and grant programs, which provides opportunities in rural areas, both in housing, business, community, utilities, and what I'll be talking a little bit more about is some of the programs that support sustainable agriculture. So, oops. So I just talked a little bit about our mission. So this is a breakdown of our offices. Our main office is in Amherst, but we also have area offices in Amherst, Holden, and Wareham, as well as 2 in Connecticut, Windsor, Connecticut, and Norwich, Connecticut, and 1 in Warwick, Rhode Island. So the programs I'm going to talk about tonight fall under our business programs. As I said, we have a large array of programs. The 2 that I'm going to talk a little bit about are our energy programs, both guaranteed and grant, as well as our value-added producer grants. So the first is our value-added producer grants. Actually, whoops, it's changing on me. So the NOFA just came out actually last week. So the application period is The applications will be due as of April 16th for paper, and electronic ones will be due as of April 11th. So if you are interested in applying for this particular grant. There's two types of value-added grants. There's the planning grant, which pays for qualified, that would be a third party that would consult and develop either a feasibility, marketing, a business plan, or related type processing for marketing a value-added product. The other grant area would be our working capital grants, which would be used to pay for eligible project expenses related to the process for the value-added product. So maximum awards would be for planning can be up to $75,000, and for working capital can be up to $250,000. There is a match requirement of 1-to-1, which does include or could include cash or in-kind eligible purposes. And the period of the grant goes up to 36 months. This grant provides economic planning or eligible working capital expenses to enable an agricultural producer to develop their business by producing a value-added agricultural product. So this is for sustainable agriculture, just to expand your farm out a little bit and increase revenues, additional revenues. This particular grant is highly competitive. Many of our programs were allocated funds by the state. This is actually national funded, so you would be competing across the country. So it is fairly competitive. So it's scored both at a local level and at a national level. It's for agricultural producers. As I had stated, it's for planning or working capital. There is a matching requirement, and the funding comes out annually. And as I said, that NOFA, which is the public notice, which will be in this presentation, the link, if you're interested, you can take a look at that. So that just came out. So what is not eligible for the value added is job training programs. It's intended to teach people intentions to teach people how to farm, technical assistance programs, or research and development, loan programs, or a continuous stream of capitals. So those are not value added. Some of the eligible entities would be an independent producer, an ag producer group, farmer or rancher cooperative, or a major controlled producer-based business relating to agriculture. 5 methods we look at with the value added is change in the physical state. So in other words, your grapes to jellies. Produce in a manner that enhances the value of the agricultural commodity, making it organic or somehow enhancing that particular product. Physically segregation of the product. Renewable energy is considered a value added, as well as a local produced agricultural food product. When it comes to renewable energy, and I'm going to get into, we also have a separate program under energy, an agricultural commodity that is used to generate renewable energy on a farm or ranch owned or leased by the independent producer. So examples would be dairy manure for methane. So we've done several digesters through this program. And corn being converted to biodiesel generation. So you can use it for producing, for the processing costs of including the labor, the utilities, the packaging, as well as the labeling. Additionally, it can be for raw commodities, investing in for third parties up to 49% of the particular product. It can be used for advertising and promoting, as well as financial and accounting systems. And I know we're talking a lot about record keeping tonight, so that's one thing that can be utilized. Ineligible uses also is the purchase of land or buildings or equipment. These funds cannot be used for purchases. Preparation of the grant application cannot be used for these funds. Research and development or architectural or engineering, or the expenses for the production, harvesting, or delivery to a processing facility of any agricultural or commodity or product. So those are ineligible. When talking about the matching funds, as I said, it's up to 50%. you need to show that at least it's spent on an eligible expenses and in advance. So you'd have to pay up the first portion of it prior to releasing the grant funds. So it can also be real or apparent conflicts of so eligible sources without a real conflict of interest. We had talked about in-kind services, but must be an applicant can have cash, loan, or line of credit. It can be an applicant or family member in-kind contribution of goods or services. Provides the services are limited to 25% of the total cost of the project. It can be third-party cash, or it can be in-kind contributions as well. Completeness, applications must contain all the required elements to be eligible to compete for funds. As I said, this is a very competitive grant, so you want to make sure that everything is correct and all your boxes are checked. We do have staff that will discuss and review the application process with you as well. This is for both the planning and the working grant applications. So that we do have a toolbox, there are regulations, and the official notification, as I said, just came out, and this is the address that you can open up the note on. SAM's registration. This is a registration number that you need to have for any kind of federal funding. So this page shows you how to register on SAM's. Just some helpful hints, email to discuss intent and determination the project is a good fit. As I said, we have a great grant review team, so they're open to answering any questions or helping you with any guidance in your application process. Schedule a consultation in order to target the maximum score and results. So if somebody is interested, we can set up a meeting with our grants team and submit your application a couple of weeks in advance whenever possible. So it gives them an opportunity to review it. Our main grant specialist is Madison Rodriguez, and she is located in our Wareham office. This is her contact information, and she would be the one that can assist with the process. So we're going to talk about energy programs. So this is to promote the development of renewable energy, but we also look at energy efficiencies. So agricultural producers with at least 50% of the gross income coming from their operations are eligible to apply for the loan and grant programs, as well as small businesses, which is defined by the SBA guidelines. So ag producers, one of the reasons that we're with USDA is we work in rural communities, as I had mentioned, and rural is defined by population. But if you are a ag producer, farmer, there is no limitation on location, so you don't need to meet that definition of rural if you're an ag producer. And as far as the limits, maximum of 500,000 for renewable energy systems and 250,000 for energy efficiency grants. Provided that we provide grant loans, financing for funding for agricultural producers for renewable energy systems and efficiency. So the grants can cover up to 50% of the total eligible costs, which previous years, just a little over a year ago, previous to last year, we could only do 25%. And the loan guarantee can cover up to 75% of the project eligible costs. And you can also do a combination of a loan and grant, 75%, 25%. All right, and they've increased the funding substantially in the energy programs to $7.5 million, which is 3 or 4 times previous funding levels. So as I had mentioned, ag producers, which is an individual or entity that receives 50% or more of its income from the farm, and the others was a small business, which is defined by SBA for any community under 50,000 and SBA definition of small business. So location is a factor if it's a small business as opposed to an ag producer. Examples are solar, wind, small hydroelectric, anaerobic digesters, biomass, and geothermal are all examples of energy. Energy efficiencies, we'll look at lighting, heating, cooling, ventilation, fans, automated controls, and insulation. We had a grant that we just started last year. We provide to technical assistance providers. So they applied through us for grant funds to assist applicants with the application process for these. These are the last year's that currently have funding to assist with applications. In Massachusetts, it's the Center for Ecotechnology. In Connecticut, it's the Resource Conservation and Development. And then we have a couple, Wanda Jean Lord and Rhode Island Department of Administration of Office of Energy Resources. And another one is the Farm Credit East, can also assist in any of the states. So if you have any questions on energy, our energy coordinator is Jordan Henault. This is his contact information here, which we can make available as well. And this is my contact information. Also, you can follow us on Twitter. And that's it. And we'll go to questions at the end. Okay. Did I go too fast, Emily, or are we good?
No, that was perfect. Thank you, Lyndon.
Okay.
I saw one question pop up, and now I don't know where the question went. Let's see. It has something to do with Essex Tech being a partner, I think. Or it might have been a comment.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
I can't find the question, but I think it either asked or mentioned that Essex Tech is a partner or is working with this or somehow has gotten a grant for this.
Essex Tech, is that they said?
Oh, you know what? Nope, this was unrelated. Never mind.
I was going to say that does not sound familiar, but
that does not sound familiar at all. That was actually a message I got from a different thing I'm on, has nothing to do with this at all. So that is my bad. But thank you, Lyndon. That was nice and informative. And if anyone has any questions for him, definitely reach out. For all the people that are speaking today from USDA or NRCS or FSA, everyone at the offices are very nice. And the best way to get started is to contact them. So next up, we have Jack from NRCS. Jack, you can share your screen and hopefully it will actually share this time, unlike last time. There you go.
I'll give it a shot. I spend my life on Teams, so I apologize if this is not clear. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it in not the presentation view, but now it's in presentation view.
That's in presentation mode. Great.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes. I cannot claim credit. Yeah, I will try to also cover the ground as efficiently and with as much information as Lyndon was able to do. It's going to be sort of a high level conversation around record keeping. But always, like you just said, feel free to reach out to your local service center for more information, specific to our programs. So I'm not going to get super into programs, but I'm going to talk about them for just a second. But here's the picture of me, which everyone I'm sure wanted to see. And the main reason for that is that you'll share this out after, and there's my contact information. Here's just a little helpful link if y'all haven't seen it before, to kind of get a visual, at least for NRCS, how we divide up our counties and service centers. So Berkshire, Franklin, Hampshire, Hampden, we call that Western. Essex, Middlesex, Worcester, Suffolk, that's Central, and Norfolk, Bristol, Plymouth, Barnstable, and the Islands are Southeast Mass for us. I know FSA doesn't perfectly match up with that, but if you click on the hyperlink in future, you'll actually get the contact information for rural development, Farm Service Agency, and NRCS. So just a helpful little link. Just select your state and your county, and you'll get all that contact information we've been sharing in one place. Just a quick overview about what we do. Technical and financial assistance, I think was probably the most relevant kind of overarching concept here for this audience. So CTA or TA is basically free personalized advice and info for your operation, for your land, informed by our staff. We've got folks ranging from engineers to agronomists. Your conservation planners have an understanding of everything from cranberries to forest to mixed veg to livestock. So we've got someone for you and your needs. And basically, one of the things we can do is offer technical assistance. We'll hear more about that later on. And I'm going to talk about record keeping as one of those things we can provide within the overarching rule of technical assistance. An example I like to give, for example, here is like irrigation. Irrigation is something we require records on, records management. An example of technical assistance for irrigation would be like, normally you'd have to maybe go out and hire like a private engineer to help you design an irrigation system. If you were going from, say, overhead drip on your, small lettuce farm to micro irrigation or drip irrigation, this is something that we can help you design. And unlike, helping someone in a private sector, partnering with them where you'd have to pay for it, our designs are free. And also, you don't have to do anything with them, or you can implement them if you'd like, but we're not going to hold you to it. It's just one of those things. So be thinking about technical assistance in that way. So I'm going to stick with the irrigation sort of analogy here for financial assistance, which allows us to assist you with cost sharing through a competitive ranking process. And I know we're going to hear more about that from some of our farmer presenters a little bit down the road, so I won't go into that too much. Also, we work with New Entry a lot to do our more general spiel, so I'm trying to stay away from that tonight. But basically, in the irrigation concept here, we would help you design that drip irrigation, and then you could apply if you were interested in moving forward with it through one of our programs, in this case, probably EQIP or AMA, possibly CSP, and we would rank that, and if selected, we could actually help to pay for some of the costs, usually around 70% for not historically underserved producers. And I think the audience here is largely more beginning farmer. Historically underserved folks, beginning farmers, you count in that category, tend to get financial assistance cost sharing closer to 90% for practices across the board. So that's a nice little perk. We know when you're starting out, it can be a lot. So I am going to just talk about conservation plans for a second as something that could be technical or financial assistance, and certainly could help you with record keeping. So some of the things we can help do, we can make maps for you. That's really helpful for keeping records, topographic maps, soils maps, conservation plan maps, a variety of maps. We have LiDAR data, we have all the sweet toys, so we can kind of help you get that perspective on your land, which, it complements your localized knowledge and expertise. It could be a useful thing. We can help with photos and inventorying resources, economic costs and benefits, and the schedule of recommended practices. So in the irrigation example, maybe you want to make that transition. We can help kind of put in what we propose, what we think would be, the best way to address and recommend these practices. So we're not just going to say, oh yeah, throw in cover crop anytime, or, irrigation, January would be a great time to do that. We're going to give you a schedule, give you some records to have, so that you don't just have to remember, the advice that you get from our site visits or something like that. You'll have, a conservation plan, and that conservation plan in technical assistance form looks the same as it does with financial assistance. Basically just planning out, what you're going to do, where you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, how much, and those maps and other visual aids that come along with that plan. Just nice to have something so you're not having to try to remember everything. Again, voluntary collaboration. So if we say, we think that this is the amount of cover crop you should put here, or that's how big your irrigation should be, and it's just been technical advice, it's a record you can keep for yourself, but it's not something that you must do. If you seek out financial assistance with us, that is something where you'd sign a contract, and that's where, we would want you to do what we planned in that plan. This is just a quick slide to highlighting some of the programs that we've got, some of the benefits. I'm not sure we could have anyone from cut flower to dairy on this call, and I can't really see who's where, but basically, if you've got land, if you've got natural resources that you're managing, we can probably help you there. So just want to give you all like a visual aid if you're kind of wondering what, the scope of our work can be. I also linked in the Get Started guide, which I think is helpful from an FSA, RD, and NRCS perspective. Just recommend flipping through it if you are just getting started. Record keeping is mentioned in there a few times, I believe. So I'm going to skip over this, but I'm just going to talk about cover crop here for a second and give some record keeping from our perspective sort of information. I also have some feedback from an implementation specialist we have. I'm just going to keep it simple, keep it short, but just know that we're talking about cover crop here. We could be talking about, rotational grazing or selective cutting in your forest or, XYZ. Resource concern. That's the thing. Like, what do you want to make better? What are we trying to accomplish here from a conservation perspective? So just for the sake of time, this is really simple. This is some of the stuff we have on our job sheet for cover crop. Some of the stuff we're looking for when we come out to certify, from a financial assistance perspective. Let's say you planted some cover crop. We're going to need to know a couple things about that just so that, we can justify that. Our programs are justified through addressing those resource concerns. So obviously we need a little bit of information about, how specifically we're doing that. So, here we're going to have a track and field. That's something, that you're assigned through working with NRCS and FSA. The acres, let's say you're doing cover crop here. The track and the field we've assigned you is track 6, field 12, and that's a half-acre plot. We would want to know what your previous crop was. So maybe you were doing corn this summer or something like that. And we'd like to know a little bit about that. So basically just how much of it was there, it'd be helpful to know how it was put in and all of that stuff. So we just want you to know that. And then we're going to say, what are we going to be putting in for cover crop in this example? So you wouldn't just be saying, oh, I threw some cover crop on the ground and it grew. That's great. We want to know how you seeded it. Did you broadcast? Did you no-till drill? That kind of stuff. Did you hand scale? We want to know the depth of that and the method. So just a little info there to keep for your records. When you did it. So, winter rye, for example, we wouldn't tell you through technical or financial assistance to plant that in like August, early August or something. We would probably be saying by September 15th, that kind of thing. Then we want to know the plan for what's going to happen after. I mean, cover crops justified in this situation because it's going to help with aggregate stability and biomass and overwintering and not erosion to the extent that you would have without it. But we do want to know, is your cover crop going to winter kill? Are you going to spray? What are you going to do? So records are in some ways your past, present, and future, just to get you thinking about, how we're going to maximize this situation and address those resource concerns. I have 7 quick tips from our implementation specialist and farmer, and I think I can get through them because I got 5 minutes. Tips and tricks from our implementation specialist, who is a partner employee with American Farmland Trust and often picks up folks on our contract list that might be a little behind schedule. So just to say, she's a farmer, she works for NRCS, she has a very unique perspective. So I wanted to ask her because I have a perspective from NRCS and AFT before, but I've only ever farmed pretty small amounts and not to the extent that she has. So the number one thing, like Emily's referenced before, check in with us. You'll have a conservation planner assigned to help you through these programs, this information. Just make sure that we're all on the same page. So what is the expectation? When do you want, us to come out? What do you need when we come out? That kind of thing. What is it going to look like? And your conservation planner will have all those answers for you. So just make sure you're on the same page. When we certify and pay for cover crop, for example, we'll come out and take some pictures, but we're still going to need to know the information from the previous slide. Des's point here is records can be at war with bandwidth, so find a strategy that works for you. Make sure everyone's on the same page, especially if you work in part of a larger crew. That's where we sometimes see a disconnect, is on farm between a farm manager and someone else doing something. There can be strategies if you're kind of looking for better ways to get organized. NRCS can help you with their partner employees there, offer some advice. She uses Google Survey. everything from lambing to harvest data, spray and fert, pest management. So what are you doing now to manage your records? Or is it physical? Is it mobile? We have people who can help you kind of streamline that a little bit. And she also, makes regular reminders in a way that works best for you. If you've got a contract with us, our conservation plan says what you're going to do and when. Maybe that's good enough, or maybe there's something else, just to really make sure where you're feeling comfortable checking in with us. And if you're not sure where you should be in the process, give us a call or an email or text, whatever works for you. Conservation planners are here to help with exactly that kind of question. And as someone who's planned, I would so much rather hear from a producer before, a record is due than after. We'd love that sort of conversation, because, it makes everyone's lives easier. Photo logging is just another trick here that I think is helpful, because you get timestamps, when you're moving some animals or you seeded your cover crop, keep your receipts, that kind of stuff. And then just ask your planners about some of the stuff that we have. I'm not going to get into it because I've only got like another minute and there's a million things, but from soil moisture sensors to, prescribed grazing, fencing within, exclusionary areas to make sure that, you're doing a better grazing job. There are a lot of practices, and we can cover all of this stuff in a site visit. So big takeaway is make sure you're in touch with your NRCS and FSA and RD offices. Make sure that, folks are out there and you're having conversations about this kind of thing. And my final plug for records management in general is that, obviously, in addition to, what we need from you for financial assistance and infrastructure investments, it's just a great way to track, what's working and what's not on the farm. So yeah, too long didn't read. Talk to your conservation planner. Feel free to reach out. That's what we're here for. That's just a slide for timelines for assistance. A disclaimer that it's better to reach out sooner than later in general, especially with our workload. And I got like 10 seconds, so that's cool. I'm done.
Perfect timing. Thank you, Jack.
I'm trying to stop sharing. Okay.
Perfect. Let's see, I'll unpin you so you're not just a giant blob on the screen. All right, thank you, Jack, for sharing those resources. Next up, we have Alice from FSA. So you can feel free to share your screen, Alice, and get going.
All right. Yes. And let me know. Oh my gosh. Sorry, this is blocking right up here, of course. Oh gosh. Present. I'm sorry. I haven't used PowerPoint in a minute, clearly.
No worries.
I was gonna say I should be able to just present from here. Well, let's see if I can make this smaller.
I think you might be able to hit slideshow up in the middle.
Up in the middle.
See it? Up almost in the center.
Let's see.
Just
I wish I could
above those
minimize.
blocks.
Above these blocks? Oh god.
Yep,
Okay.
just under the orange line in the middle, it says slideshow. Next to animations.
Okay. I was gonna say, next to animations, of course, right where I'm blocked.
Go to the right. Yeah, to the right of that.
This I need to move. Oh my god. Okay. Hello, everybody.
I had the same problem with stuff blocking.
Clearly,
so
it's been a long day.
there you
So
go.
we'll just get into it. All right. So I am right now, our county executive director is retiring the end of, or actually January 31st, so very shortly. So I'm the acting county executive director for the Middlesex Essex County Farm Service Agency. We work closely with NRCS and RD, but my experience mostly NRCS. We kind of act as the record keepers of the eligibility paperwork for our relationship with NRCS in itself. All right, let's just move this guy and we'll go next. There we go. Come on. Here we go. So our mission generally is to equitably serve farmers and agricultural partners through delivering effective, efficient agricultural programs. So I always say that Farm Service Agency works a lot with some preventative programs, One of them I'll go into more detail about later, which is our one of our crop insurance type plans, and then some other disaster relief programs. That's mainly what we focus on. And so getting started with Farm Service Agency, if you are in Beverly, then your reporting or your service center would be my office, which is in Westford. And there's some basic eligibility paperwork that we start off with that, you know, would also be good for everyone to keep for their own records. But some of these papers you need filed in our office in order to work with us and then work with NRCS. One of those forms is a CCC 860 form. It's focusing on beginning and socially disadvantaged farmers. It also covers so beginning farmer is someone who's started farming within the last 10 years and covers your first 10 years of farming. Socially disadvantaged and historically underserved populations are, it's a self-certification, but some of those demographics include people of color and women. So this form is pretty straightforward, and it allows for automatic enrollment in one of our programs, the crop insurance program, as well as, like Jack had mentioned, or somebody mentioned, I apologize, who, a higher cost share percentage in some of the programs that we cost share for at Farm Service Agency. We also fill out an 80-1026 form, which is a highly erodible land conservation and wetland certification determination form. So we use this as a gauge of if you're modifying drainage systems on your property, or if you're doing other certain processes on your land, that we then need to use that form and refer you on over to NRCS, where they'll do an evaluation to see if you're on highly erodible land or wetlands per regulation. And so we work together in that sense. It's possible if you're not doing those activities, then we wouldn't need to refer you. But a lot of times for beginning farmers, if there has not been an evaluation made by NRCS, which I mean, there hasn't if you're beginning, we like to refer them over to get an evaluation, because you cannot produce an agricultural commodity on highly erodible land and work with Farm Service Agency. Another key, I will go more into the programs, but I do want to emphasize acreage reporting. So for the Farm Service Agency, one of the key ways that we keep track of who's growing what where is yearly acreage reporting. So the deadline is July 15th. We usually start sending out things in May if we're on top of it. We send out maps of people's farms and farm and tract numbers, which I will have to backtrack about in a moment. Farm and tract numbers are established through Farm Service Agency, and they're used for our programs and NRCS programs. It's based on your GPS and GIS information. So we just pull from a mass mapper, we create a farm and tract number for you, and that allows you to be put in our records. So acreage reporting is based on those farms and tracts, and we break them down further into fields that can be broken down in up to 1/100th of an acre. And we log what's being grown, when it was planted, what its purpose or projected use is. And this acreage report is key to participating in some of our programs. Again, one of these is that insurance program, which I will get into. The acreage reporting, in order to do that, it's really important that farmers keep records of when they're planting things, and what quantities they're planting. If you know, we have farmers who rotate fields from year to year, so making sure that we don't have you planting in field 1 when it's really now you're planting that commodity in field 2. So keeping things up to date, those go out every year and really help us and in a way, or I guess in a way, helping enforce keeping good records of what is planted when and where. This is just an example of that CCC 860 form. It's one page, which is really nice, and then you just sign on the back. I know that sometimes paperwork with all of our agencies can get a bit overwhelming, so this is just a nice streamlined form. Just a picture of it. So the NAP program, that is the insurance program I was speaking of. So non-insured crop disaster assistance program. When you file that CCC 860, you are automatically, unless you were to opt out, enrolled in a 60-65% coverage level. So this means that if there was a natural disaster that's triggered, say, for this past year in New England, there was a lot of flooding and excess moisture. That is a qualifying natural disaster. If you are enrolled in this program, and to be enrolled in this program, we do need that acreage report. You could declare a loss on your, half an acre of squash. You can declare a loss, and we have a loss adjuster go out. They do an evaluation. And then another aspect of this is you do need to keep your production record. So what you're able to produce versus not produce, when it's harvested, how much you harvest, in weight, in pounds or containers or bushels. So this program runs annually. So again, with this, if you're a beginning farmer and you file this form, you are automatically enrolled. So you don't need to worry about paying any service fees, whereas people without this form certified or do not fit into those categories do have to pay fees to enroll in this program. That's a really new policy that we've just rolled out within this past year, which is really good. It's, trying to get more new farmers and historically underserved producers to get to participate in our programs and then to get this insurance, as we do seem to be facing more and more frequent natural disasters. One year it's a drought, this year it's flooding. So this is a very good program, and it's nice that if you're a beginning farmer, you get that free automatic base coverage. Sorry, I'm going fast. There's just a lot here. There are some other programs that run either annually or when a natural disaster happens. We have a honeybee and livestock and farm-raised fish, which in the South Shore, oysters qualify as farm-raised fish technically. So that's a program that runs when there's a qualifying disaster. We have other what we call ad hoc emergency programs. There were multiple that ran during the pandemic to assist with revenue loss. There's other natural disaster programs that run as well. So I am not the loan side. The loan department functions independently, other than you get some of your basic eligibility paperwork set up with our office, FSA office, to work with the loan department. I just kind of copied this over from Laura Ross's previous presentation. So there's multiple different types of loans. There's, farm ownership loans, operating loans, and then what might be more applicable to small scale beginning farmers is the microloans, which a max of $50,000 can be used for down payment purposes, operating ownership. And again, the loan department can give you more information about that. Applications for these loans can be found in a different variety online, mail, in the loan office. Again, there is with the loans, they have a 60-day time frame to give you a determination based on your application. And they're usually pretty quick and pretty good about that. We work with them. So again, you'll fill out some of your basic eligibility paperwork with my department or with my agency. And then we would kick you over to the loan department. So these are two important numbers. I mean, again, this is public information, and you can find this with your service locator. It's the same one that is for NRCS, that same kind of county map. Laura Ross is the farm loan officer trainee, and then Brian Dajnak is the farm loan manager for Essex and Middlesex counties. So they are your best bet to find more specific loan information. I unfortunately, it's above my head. Let's see. These are some links. I mean, again, there's just some basic fact sheets about our programs. There's the different forms that are needed. I didn't go into depth about this, but there's what we call a farm operating plan, which just breaks down the land ownership. If you lease it, who you lease it from, are you doing management? Do you hire management, etc. And then, yeah, we have the USDA service center locator there as well. This is the contact information for the Essex and Middlesex County FSA office itself. We are located in Westford. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 p.m. Currently, I'm the only person in the office. I am there most days, and if I happen to not be, I try to let people know or post it. We are in the process of hiring someone to replace my old position that I left in February and moved up. So we're in the process of hiring somebody, but we're a little short-staffed at the time. But so who you can contact is me directly. My email's right there. It's just my first name dot my last name at USDA.gov. This is my direct line. There's also this is again just this public-facing information. That's our office number. That's supposed to say 8286. And that is about all I have. I'm sorry that was a little bit rapid fire, but there's a lot there. I'm happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability as well.
Thank you, Alice. That was great. I just learned about the NAP program last week, and for any beginning farmers that are on today, it is free to apply as a beginning farmer, and you will get automatic coverage again for crop losses. So it's not necessarily going to be something that you can, live off of if you lose a crop, but it is enough to, not fall hopefully into financial ruin. So it's pretty great. Let's see. So next we have Jorge, but I don't think Jorge is on the call yet, unless he has snuck on. So Anna, would you be interested in going next? See, you're muted right now.
Yes.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay.
I'm
gonna also try PowerPoint. It's been a little while, but I thought it might be fun.
And just so everyone knows, this is Anna from Late Bloom Farm in Haverhill.
Let's see. Well, I'm not sure how to get it to be. Can you see it?
I can see it. It's in the presenter view, I think. So it has like the next slide and the notes up also.
Ew. Okay, one sec. Not sure how to get it back to. Does anyone know?
I do not know.
Okay. Well, I'll
I think if you end the slideshow and then do it in I think there's another view, like up top towards the center. It says end slideshow.
Oh, yep.
And then you should be able to choose on the slideshow ribbon. And then from beginning, yeah. That should make it just regular view.
Oh
no.
Huh.
Well, it doesn't matter. You'll get to see the pictures. So anyway, my name's Anna Kalklin, and I am managing Late Bloom Farm. This is a new adventure for me. I'm in Haverhill, Massachusetts, and almost 3 years ago, my husband and I purchased about 37 acres. And I've, been farming for a while, still considered a beginning farmer, but we have about 2.5, 3 open acres, and we are starting a pretty small scale no-till mixed veggie herb flower farm, hoping to do CSA and maybe a farmer's market. So I'm just here to share with you all my experience in working with NRCS. Like I said, 2024 is actually my official beginning farming, so it's exciting and scary. But I had been growing some crops last year, selling to kind of like family and friends, and was lucky and to be able to get a high tunnel as well as some funding for mulch and cover crops. So I thought I'd just walk you through my process. So it, like Jack mentioned, it started with an email. I reached out to the office that represents Essex County and just shared a bit about my farm and the history of the land and some of my goals. Really, I had heard about the tunnel as a potential grant and was excited about getting one up, especially in preparation for my farm. So once I emailed, that was in December, and then basically they set up a site visit with me and a soil health assessment. And so someone came out, and it was actually pretty awesome. They did some tests with the soil to see about water holding capacity and assess like the plants for pollinators. We took a walk through a lot of the land is forested that we have. And it was just able to talk about some goals and what the programs were. It was nice to just be with someone in person and learn about all the programs. So then I realized they said I needed to register with FSA. I didn't use funding from FSA, but still needed to register, and then essentially filled out an application, which was basic information, your tax ID, your social, like a voided check, and just like information about the land and your situation. So it was pretty straightforward because we do own the land. And then had applied for some cover crops, some mulch for the pathways. And you can see in this picture, this was part of the conservation plan, just like where we were putting the cover crops and mulch. And then this pink is where the high tunnel is. And we wanted to do some leveling for the tunnel and also dig a trench for electric and water, which then I learned required a cultural resource assessment, which threw me a little bit for a loop, but basically an archaeologist had to come out and dig around and make sure there wasn't anything culturally sensitive or historic resources that we would be disrupting. So that happened in April, and then basically a month passed and we got approved. And then in May, and then because I'm beginning farmer, I got 50% of the funding upfront, which was super helpful. And then essentially, I put down the cover crops, got the mulch down, and we got the tunnel built, which I'll talk about in the next slide. And then someone came out and did like a final assessment, making sure that we got it completed. So I wasn't exactly sure what to prepare for this, but I figured I'd just briefly touch on some site location and then how we built the tunnel briefly. Hopefully this is helpful for people. I was kind of excited about getting some pictures because this is fairly fresh in my brain. But you can see in the top picture, that's kind of like a bird's eye view of the plot and part of our land. So we just, initially started with kind of like an overview of the land and where we thought might be a good location for the tunnel. So really, we looked for as level ground as we could, so we minimally disturbed it, so it was well draining. All these things obviously are great for growing crops. So, and then we also assessed how much light we were going to get. My husband is an engineer and he used to design solar air heat collectors. So he has this thing that's in the bottom right called a solar pathfinder, which was really cool. Neat tool to use to just gauge how much light is going to be throughout the day, throughout the entire year, depending on the month. And then, we factored in cardinal directions a little bit, trying to think about east-west facing for winter light, just the openness of the area. I think it was a minimum of 15 feet surrounding the tunnel that we needed to have. And then the big one for us, which is a requirement, is to have proximity to water and electricity if you're using a tunnel that has electricity. So we did, have to dig a trench from the barn, which is up in the left of the top right photo, but the barn is on the left of the tunnel. And then, so that was huge. And then just general accessibility of getting to the tunnel, and then kind of overall aesthetic of the land. Our house is right here, so we want a nice open field ideally. And then briefly, hopefully I'm not going over, briefly I thought I'd touch on the construction of the high tunnel. So we went with a Rimmel tunnel 30 by 72 nor'easter. I've worked at farms that one farm mainly that has many of them, so I was familiar with them. And then we basically it started, we rented a 26-foot U-Haul truck, which saved on shipping. And then the bottom left picture is us kind of measuring out like where the 4 corner posts are of the tunnel. And then definitely recommend renting a gas-powered post pounder, which was helpful to get the posts in, making sure they're level and plumb. And then we kind of separately assembled all the bows and trusses. And then in the bottom right picture, we had a kind of a community work day with my husband's engineering firm with lots of their families. And it was fun. It was like a barn raising almost, but got the trusses and bows up in like an hour. And then essentially, from there we installed the purlins and wind bracing, hip boards, baseboards, and then we worked on the end walls, framing the doors first. And then finally skinning it with a 6 mil poly. And then you can see the top left is kind of the finale of it. So that's kind of all I have, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or I left my email here that I'm welcome questions, or if you want to come visit the farm and see, I'm definitely open to that. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna. It was great to hear about your journey of getting the high tunnel and getting it up. It's a process. It does take a while, but you did it, and now you have it.
It's all consuming.
Yeah.
But it feels like an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. All right. I still don't see Jorge in the Zoom. So Mac, if you want to hop on and talk about your experiences with funding from NRCS or through FSA or MDAR, that would be great.
You're getting me and not a PowerPoint. Sorry. Emily, thank you so much for hosting this, and all of our presenters. Thank you so much for all of the information you guys have put out there. I have written down questions of my own because I feel like I learned some stuff even after participating in all of these programs. Just a little background for you guys. My farm is about 8 years old now, and I did go through the new entry sustainable farming program business planning course. And I've done all the USDA courses, and I also did courses through the Carrot Project to pre-approve me for FSA financing. I think in like my 4th or 5th year, I was starting to scale up to like more than 2 acres. So I bit the bullet and got a, what are they? They're like small micro loans for purchasing a tractor through FSA. And it's amazing. FSA gave me a 1.75% interest rate, and that's like unheard of for being a small business owner. My local bank offered me 6%, and I said, no, thank you. So I've continued to finance stuff through FSA, but I also rent land, which can be a little bit tricky with capital investments. FSA is not super interested in helping me put up buildings on properties that I don't own, which I can totally understand. But thanks to some of the USDA programs out there, there is capital infrastructure grants and stuff that will help me as long as I have some money to put up front, like on my own. I will say I just started working with NRCS this past year. The property that I am renting, the farmer before me had worked with NRCS on the piece of land. So there was a little bit of a rapport that I got to walk into, which is nice. They did a lot of that archaeological excavation. Oh, wow. Sorry, guys. It was so late in the day for me. They did a bunch of digging for artifacts before I even took the land over. So I kind of got to streamline a little bit more of my equip greenhouse project, which was really great. For me, my agent told me that they would help me finance at least like the 50% upfront for this capital investment, as many greenhouses as I wanted. So I just said, great, let's do 2. And now at the point where my hands are doing nuts and bolts work in January, I wish that I just did 1, but I'm grateful to have doubled my indoor growing space thanks to the equip program. I know they'll get done, but I'm so jealous that Anna's over there with like her greenhouse all done and ready to grow for the spring. I am super glad that Anna and I are back to back actually, because listening to present, I'm like a really great contrast to Anna with her stability of owning land and starting out. I'm kind of like I've gotten some more years on my own. I walked into this rented piece of property from another piece of property that I'd rented prior to. So it's cool to see that all these programs can work for everyone, kind of no matter what your situation is. And I was also scared to do some of these programs because it's like lots of paperwork and kind of growing up a little bit as a small farmer. But I will encourage all of you to just like ask all the stupid questions. All of these professionals, they want to see small farms grow and succeed. So they're here to help you kind of no matter what you think the obstacle is. It might really just be nothing. But it's really cool to see my NRCS's loan officer's name up on the screen and note that my NRCS guy is like emailing me back and forth about cover crop stuff and hearing this presentation. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want me to cover, Emily. I feel like just these programs are great. You guys shouldn't be afraid of them. You should for sure try and use them to the best of their abilities because they can be a huge leveling up. Yeah.
So if you got your funding, when did you get your funding back for the 2 high totals that you're putting in right now?
Get this, I had a savings account. So I got to use my own money, which for any of
Mhm.
you, I don't know where you are at your farm journeys, but it's taken me like 7, 8 years to be able to like have a savings account to then roll into capital infrastructure programs. It's kind of hard to keep that meat on the bone. But yeah, one of my CSA members, they are super flexible and let me kind of borrow on a personal loan level amounts of money, and the interest is their CSA share for the year. So that's actually worked out really well for me. So between like a personal loan and my savings, I was able to kind of just like catch up whatever the difference was. I will say though, I did not get a Rimmel tunnel. I know the EQIP program is kind of like priced for an for a Rimmel tunnel, but I went with a Ledgewood tunnel. Ed is pretty old school who owns Ledgewood, and I heard it was one of his last few years in business. So I wanted the artifact of Ed's tunnel. And they're pretty sturdy. I know Rimmel's like competitive with their construction and their materials, but I don't know. I already had one of Ed's and I had 2 Rimmels, so I needed to level the playing field, 2 more of Ed's. The price difference was kind of advantageous for me too, so I can get a little bit more of the fans, the heaters, bells and whistles. Yeah.
What are your favorite bells and whistles to get onto your high tunnels?
Automated roll-up sides. I don't know if anyone else has treated themselves to those yet, but I rent the lands, right? So I'm commuting to and from, and sometimes, man, I just can't get out of my PJs by 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. So God bless those sides. They just help me vent it all up. I really want to automate irrigation systems. I have not gotten to that point yet, but listening to NRCS talk about irrigation systems, I like my ears perked up. I'm like, oh, maybe. Yeah. It's nice to see your face, Emily. I miss you.
So I see your face too, Mac. I'll open it up to questions for everyone now. So if anyone has questions for any of the people from USDA or for Anna or Mac, you can feel free to pop them in to the chat, or you can come off of mute and ask some questions. And if you guys don't have questions, I'll start asking questions. It sounded like Mac, you also had some questions to ask. So
yeah, well, and I'm happy
go.
to be like the FSA farmer too. I'm sad Jorge's not here, but I'm happy to try and answer FSA questions too. Do you want me to start with one of my questions?
Sure, yeah.
This is for the FSA person that we have on this call, but talking about NAPS, the crop insurance program, you said that if you fill out the historically underserved piece of paperwork with the CC 860 that you're automatically enrolled. Does that count for like past people who have filled that out? Like, am I enrolled?
You should be. I can look. I'm Alice, by the way. Nice to meet you virtually. I know I've seen your file before. So I'm going to be back in the office, not tomorrow, but the next day, and I will double check to make sure that it's already on file. But if it is, and it's in our system, you should be automatically enrolled. And if not, I can do it retroactively to make sure that you're enrolled for 23 and 24. Because
thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
I was intimidated. I was intimidated by the NAPS program just from, I mean, we're talking about record keeping, so from a record keeping standpoint, but to know that, I'm already into it. It's like, oh.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I do know it is, it is a bit, I can understand why it's intimidating. From an administrative standpoint, it's a little bit intimidating as well. But it is, like Emily said, it's not necessarily going to come out with a making a lot of money from it. But if you're losing half your crop, it can help pay for seed for next year, or help pay
what the past few years have been like the first year that we got too much rain, I think it was 2019, I lost $30,000 worth of tomatoes. Just see ya, just because they got flooded. So I mean, I'll take whatever you want to throw at that disaster.
Yeah, anything. And yeah, I will look into that for you. And then in general, yes, if that is filed and as long as it's in our computer system as well, I know that in the past, because of COVID, because of understaffing, we've had a little bit of breakdown in, okay, physical file, is it also digital? But I can personally check that and make sure that it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna
And
hunt you down. Get
you
ready.
could do it. Do it. It's happy to be hunted down, happy to get interaction. I'm often alone in the office, so always available for a call. But I will look into that. And yes, you have basic free coverage, so might as well take advantage of it.
Amazing. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question to that, Alice. So when I was learning about NAPS last week, my understanding was by like March 15th or so, you needed to submit like what crops you wanted to be covered under NAPS. Is that just for the people who are not filling out that underserved or beginning farmer form, or is that for everyone?
So it's for everyone. So I will be sending something out shortly because, and I should make sure that I have an up-to-date acreage report as well, because that's again, when if you have the acreage report on file that says you have half an acre of acorn squash, and we want to make sure that you apply that to the policy. We need to have that documented and then, yeah, have you sign off on it, because I believe my understanding is that if you have that form on file and you have acreage report, it might just auto-populate all of it. But there,
I don't think I have an acreage report. Yeah, there's like a
Okay,
missing
we'll
link
work
that
on
I would love to circle.
That's-
encircle it so it all is
Yep.
working. But yeah, when you
Yes.
said that, I was like, huh, I should follow up. That seems
that
way too
might
good
be
to
what's
true.
missing. Yes, I will
Yeah.
get on that, because we can do what's called like a late file, because it's within this certain amount of time.
Sounds
So
like I should probably finish my crop plan.
might be a good idea, but yes, there is you elect, so to speak, certain crops. Oh, we've got a visitor. In for the form, but yes, I will be sending that out shortly.
You're great, no rush. Obviously, I'm not prepared, but I just wanted to not miss an opportunity. What other questions you got there, Emily?
Let's see. So you're putting things together outside in your high tunnels in January. Do you have any advice for other people to avoid putting their high tunnels together in January?
Oh man. I mean, I don't know. It's not a terrible time of year to be doing things, right? It's a little bit slower and I don't know, sunshine feels good. I will say, like, I know I complain about nuts and bolts, but I am totally a winter kid. It's like where I thrive. And if you fall off a ladder in the snow, it's a little bit easier. But yeah, I don't know. This is my only opportunity, really. I am a solo business owner and my acreage keeps growing and my greenhouses keep growing and my staff has kind of stayed the same. So this is kind of my single opportunity to really pound through some infrastructure. But that being said, my other farming friends who have done this program, everyone's trying to get a greenhouse installed in under a month. And I don't know how long Anna took to do hers, but it took me 4 days to get where mine are right now. And now it's been several months of them just like sitting. So yeah, I don't know. Also, I said yes to 2, so joke's on me, but I'm motivated, highly motivated. How could you say no to 2 new high tunnels? I got 30
I
by
wouldn't be able to
96s.
either.
I couldn't do it. I'm like, yes.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't know.
How
For
long
me,
are they, Mac?
they're 30 by 96.
Oh, wow.
But for me, I have a strong desire to try and grow ginger and turmeric, because it seems like every farmer with their salt right now is growing ginger. So my push is that I bought a whole greenhouse worth of seed to do in ginger and turmeric. So I have to get at least 1 done by spring, or like my tomatoes are out in the cold. I don't know. Another like a firm deadline to really just send it home.
A whole tunnel of ginger. Ooh, that's gonna be a lot.
Split, come on, split between
Okay, split.
Yeah, ginger and turmeric. But yeah, I mean, wholesale clients can eat that all up. I like don't even have to push it retail.
It freezes great too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
in case I have to eat it all myself.
So since you two have high tunnels, what are some of the restrictions that you have with these NRCS funded tunnels?
Oh, that's a really good question. You can't use them for a propagation house. You must grow crops in the ground, which I'm glad that someone told me that. It's not like I was going to make one of them a propagation house, but everyone's always got overflow of seedlings that they're pushing into other greenhouses. So I'm like, all right, hard boundary there. And the other one was a 5-year commitment, which I believe if the NRCS person is still, Mr. Jack, if you're still on the call, I want to just confirm that does the 5 years cover like a sublet too? Like say I break my leg 1 year and it's got to continue to be used as like a cover crop or like a sublet count as 5 years of usage?
Yeah, I mean, extenuating circumstances too. Like, we know you didn't ask to break your leg, and we hope that you don't.
I am talking about being on a ladder in January. So.
Yeah.
We have snow.
What can you do? No, for sure. So the 5 years is all of our practices come with lifespans, and like why we only go with some vendors over others is they have to meet our spec. They have to basically, we don't want you to build something that's not going to last. So the 5 years is in reference to how long, minimally we expect that thing to be in production and be functioning essentially. Of course, they last a lot longer. Oftentimes they just need to be reskinned from time to time. But the idea being so that you don't a year later start like storing farm machinery or equipment in there, is kind of what it's for. And just to honor how well it's built, and we expect with this crazy New England weather that hopefully they'll last that long. So just you can put cover though. You don't have to like intensively farm every inch of it the whole time, but it's just like don't just like park a tractor in there and call it a day.
We're all guilty of doing that at some point in time.
Sure.
With some greenhouse somewhere.
Yeah, right. They're probably not gonna we're non-regulatory. No one's getting arrested, but we'd rather that you farm in the high tunnel.
It's true.
So Jack,
I think we would all rather farm in a high tunnel. So.
Yes. Yeah.
So Jack, what does happen if somebody accidentally starts a bunch of seedlings in their greenhouse 1 year or turns their greenhouse into storage for 1 year? Do they get a little slap on the wrist? Do you come take all their money away? What happens?
Yeah. So, I mean, really, we certify when things are done. So when the high tunnel is finished, and we know that it's not just finished, but finished according to spec, like you've got the right amount of pylons and, everything looks good. That's sort of where things end for us. So there's a lot of honor system going on there. We're not going to come back every single month or every single year. And, we don't have time for that. So we're not going to come back and like big brother you. I think we get told from National there's a certain amount of spot checks that we have to do across our programs. I'm not sure exactly how much. It's not super high, but we're not going to come back and post up there and just make sure that you don't put stuff in there. It's just, it's really a trust thing. But if we're not using it correctly, I think we'd just be like, can you please use it correctly? And then if you were like, no, I will park all my farm machinery in here, I don't know. I think we would probably just continue to be like, you said you were going to use this, you signed this contract, please use it appropriately. But it's not like we're out here like checking that stuff a lot. We just don't really have the capacity, and we trust our farmers to do what they say they're going to do.
So nice. I did think, just to follow up on yours too, and how Emily was commenting on me building greenhouses in January. I don't know if this is true or if it's just something I remember, but my NRCS agent was talking me through kind of construction and timelines. And I asked if I finish my end walls, install all my doors and everything in like February, but I'm not quite comfortable enough to skin the greenhouse yet until April, does it still count as completed? And I get the remaining 50% balance on the greenhouse if it's not covered. And he did tell me that as long as the end walls were done and the doors were installed and I had the cover on site, that it would probably still pass, which I thought was an interesting little safety for us as growers, because I don't know, you know, those plastic skins, it's like $1,000 of just like plastic you put into the air. It's
Right.
terrifying.
My understanding is that so we have flexibilities, like if we said we're going to be done in June and then there's like crazy weather and it doesn't make any sense, like similar to like putting in a cover crop, like if there's flooding, we're not going to be like, why didn't you drive your tractor into that field? Like we get it. We have flexibilities on the making sure there's like added time if it is out of your control. But we pay upon completion of a practice, so I would not be so sure that we could pay for something that's not completely done in that way. But
Interesting.
that might be just there may be other factors at play there that I'm just not aware of. So I would just rehash that with the planner and just double check, because there's always context. But in general, it's like if we planned a high tunnel and cover crop and irrigation, you don't have to finish all of those things to get paid for one. We pay as each thing is done. Otherwise, you know, cover crop might be like due in like 2 months and irrigation is going to take 5 years or something. We want to pay for those things when they're done. But like cover crop as an example, we're not paying when the seed is spread, we're paying upon germination, you know. So similarly, like irrigation, if you get all the pipes but they're not assembled yet, like we need to see the practice fulfilling its function. That's tied back to that resource concern. That said, like if we wouldn't plan it this way, this would be poor planning on our part. But if we said you had to have your high tunnel done like in the middle of the winter, a lot of folks get their high tunnels done, like completely done pretty much up until the winter, but they don't want to skin it because then it's just going to basically sit there for a couple of months getting atrocious weather and not really providing a benefit. So what I normally see folks do is they get everything set up except the skin, and they keep the skin, you know, kind of like off to the side until it looks like the weather's letting up a bit and it's time to start planting. And, you know, that way you're not just giving it all the January, February stuff. And then they put it on and that's when we can come out. So fully complete, but not like the whole contract, just that line item, that high tunnel in this case.
Yeah, that's so true. Interesting. Your comment about cover crop being germinated is really sends that point home. It's gotta be up and moving.
And it's like, I mean, it doesn't have to it's not like you planted 1,000 seeds. How come I only see 999 seeds up? You know, it's not like that. Like, but it's just in general, like we want to see the practice doing what the practice is designed for. And you know, that has caveats and exceptions. So it's hard to speak in like a blanket statement. Like there might have been something crazy, like, you know, you planted it and then a wash came out. Like, I'm sure, you know, we would find a way to make all that work, but it's just to try to illustrate, like, we want to see the thing doing what it's made to be doing in full.
Yeah, no, it's good. I really like that NRCS trusts us as farmers to execute projects correctly, which feels so nice. I think NRCS is really unique too, in that there's, for historically underserved populations, 50% of the funding up front. I've done some of the USDA grants and programs, and it's always upon completion you get the project amount, and that can really hurt if you're a small grower and you don't have much meat on your bones. I mean, this is my first year kind of having like some buffer to me financially. So yeah, grants in the past have been hard for me to execute, but the NRCS program, it's like so soft. I appreciate how cushioned it is.
Well, I appreciate that feedback. I put in the link because it's come up a couple of times, the advanced payment option, which anyone who's beginning farmer or historically underserved can use. And I think that's what's being talked about, where we know that when folks are starting out, they don't necessarily have that capital, especially. And so it's like helpful to have it. And FSA bridge loans are really useful too. I've worked with a lot of folks who are just starting off, and, you know, it's basically like, I don't have, let's say, 11K for my high tunnel, but I can, in certain instances, work with the FSA office and we all work together. I've done that a lot, where they help to fund those projects, and then, you know, obviously they finish the projects because they've got that loan. And then we come out, like, from our end, we just need to see the stuff is done. We don't really care like how it gets paid for, but we have lots of options out there. And I've seen that with the beginning farmers work out a lot, just to be in contact with FSA if you're exploring your financial assistance options for direct operating loans and that kind of other stuff. I'm not an expert there, but I just know I've worked with planners when I was in the field in your area, and that was really helpful. So just putting that out there for folks on the call.
Yeah, it's really cool. Thank you.
Mac, I have a question for you. If it said on the agenda or whatever that you got some like grants through MDAR. What was that like? Yeah, or maybe you didn't, but I'm just curious about how that was.
Yeah, for beginning farmers, there's a grant out there called the Mega Grant. It just is super helpful for upfront infrastructure costs. And I think that one is, they match you. So it's like 50% your money, 50% they'll cover. So that was kind of one of the first USDA grants and MDAR grants that I got. And I was super scared because it was like, I want to say the max was $20,000 that they would put up. So I think I put up like, I don't know, $8,000 or so of my own money, and then they matched it. And I got some machinery for my tractor that FSA helped me finance. So I got to actually move some of this heavy clay dirt that I work. So I was sick of shoveling it. Sorry, guys. Hand tools can only get a girl so far sometimes. But yeah, I found MDAR to be super helpful to work with. Again, every program gives you like a lot of business structure, and they help kind of like get your records in line, which is really helpful. There's a few learning sessions before they really kind of like set you up with an agent, had you do all your buying and purchasing, and then you were reimbursed. Another, I think it was through a combination of organizations, but the FSIG grant that went out during the pandemic, it was for like food infrastructure. I started building a wash pack facility. So I was able to buy a bunch of like harvest totes, a barrel washer for carrots. I got a foundation board, which was like amazing, something that was super hard for me to get done with other grants. And I got a label printer for like tracking batches and stuff, which is really great.
What? What did you get?
It's like a label printer. So if you're doing it like big batches for wholesale, it's like everything has a batch number on it. So if something comes back like with a food safety, like say salmonella outburst or something, I can follow back the batch number and then figure out where it was in my fields from where I was harvesting, which is pretty cool. I will say, for a little bit of background on my farm, my biggest wholesale account is a senior living facility. So as far as like vulnerable populations go, I mean, I sell food directly to seniors. So like foodborne illness is something I'm actually super afraid of, because I mean, I don't know. I don't want to test those internal systems of those people. So I try and send them clean stuff. The chef I work with also cleans things. It's like very sterile. But yeah, that's kind of where I got like the batching and record keeping for foodborne illness, which, like, knock on wood, I haven't really had to do like an audit or anything reactive. But yeah, everyone likes tracking and just like systems for tracking, systems for organization, just making sure you're like watching all your moving parts.
Are you CQP certified?
No, so I haven't gone through any of these certification processes. I will admit, I am a kind of a paperwork averse farmer. So like for me to be here talking about record keeping, I'm like, oh, wow. I'm even too nervous to go for an organic cert because I keep all my records. I just like don't feel like sharing them sometimes. But you know, it's good too. I need to get over it, and I don't know, get over it. Trying to think of there was another grant that I did. I don't remember. But those are the two big ones. The Mega Grant is super helpful if anyone's looking for some capital infrastructure stuff. And the FSIG one, I think, comes out every year, and there's a lot of money out there. Some farms got like $500,000 for like big buildings. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, New Entry got a nice brand new fancy cooler, I believe, with FSIG funding.
I'm talking about. I mean, we're talking about kind of like resiliency within our food system. I want a generator. I'm so sick of power outages now in the summer and in the winter. It's like, no way. I'm not putting thousands of dollars into coolers and then having them just like stop working. What? Oh gosh, yeah. So I'm after a generator this year. That's like my big ask. I want a big one. And I want to finish my wash pack house, which like I don't know if anyone has an extra $100,000 kicking around. Like I'm around. I'm here. But yeah,
Have you gotten past the foundation stage?
no. I need to finish the slab, but I'm too afraid to. I need to figure out drainage, and then I need to finish the slab. And I'm looking at steel buildings now because I think I'm going to buy a steel building kit and then build it next winter.
Ooh.
Seems to be a trend with me. But yeah, I'm so sick of washing vegetables in a greenhouse. It's just like also challenging to deal with a climate that is always changing. I just want building, shade, thermostat, be nice. We all gotta start somewhere. Anna, do you have your eyes on any grants? Are you eyeing stuff up?
Not really. I think it's because I'm not quite, well, I mean, I did apply for 2, but because I'm just kind of beginning, it feels overwhelming, and also it seems like there's more available if you've been operating for a little while. So, but yeah, I did apply for there's a soil health mini grant with
AFT, I think.
Yeah.
what?
I
Yeah,
think
the
it's with
ones you
AFT.
sent, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. But I think those are my first 2 grants, I guess. Besides the high tunnel, and I do think it is a good practice to like yeah, just kind of reiterate what you're doing and why you're doing it, and kind of have it written down. And at the least, obviously you want to get the grant, but for me that part's been helpful.
So do you two
Thanks, Jack.
have like your top 3 tips for applying for a high tunnel?
You go first, Anna.
Maybe plan ahead, but I'm a kind of a big planner. So, but I think yeah, just because I had emailed in like a year ago, December, it yeah, it took a pretty much full year to get that going. Yeah, I'll try to think of another tip.
I will say something that Anna did that I wish I did. Grading the site that you're putting a greenhouse in. Brilliant, Anna. I have a grade, which is fine because drainage is a problem for me, but yeah, I'm gonna get some dump trucks of soil and fix that grade. But yeah, I was pinning myself up against the frozen ground, so I just got those ground posts in, put those bows up, and now I'm problem solving. But it's fine, feels good.
I guess the other thing, because before I got this tunnel grant, it was kind of scary to think about all that paperwork and what all the emails back and forth and communication. But I think just kind of in hindsight, now that it's done, that yeah, just go for it, and yeah, put yourself out there. And that I feel like just doing that kind of got the ball rolling, and I think the first step is kind of the hardest.
I would agree. And I actually think your comment about being a beginning farmer and maybe not having robust records behind you of past years, both what you've grown and your sales, it is a really tricky spot to be in. I feel like that's one of the things I hope that everyone is doing, even if it's your crop plan is just like a written piece of paper, or like your sales records are just like pencil notes in a notebook, but try and collect it all. Because it's super helpful to just kind of know where you're at, even if you're just beginning and say you're only selling like $20,000 or less worth of products. It's still proof that you're selling $20,000 of product, and that's it's just going to be more as years go on. But it's important to have, you know, if you had like 1 or 2 years of sales data behind you, Anna, then it would almost be a different conversation.
What is your favorite record keeping method right now, Mac? Do you use QuickBooks? Do you use Excel?
I
Do you
just told
use
you
pen and
I'm
paper?
record keeping adverse.
But you're doing something. You're keeping them somewhere. How are you doing
I'll
it?
share with you guys. You can buy these at CVS. I use these funny sales orders for all my wholesale accounts. I use just like a simple piece of paper that is like an Excel sheet that I print out for my farmers markets. I do use QuickBooks, but I'm not as good at entering all of like my bunches that I sell. I'm like doing that after the fact now, which is kind of the worst, but my online banking decided to not continue to link after February. So I thought I was doing well and I had to do it all manually. So, but yeah, I only recently started doing QuickBooks and it's super overwhelming. But it is a really helpful tool once you get to a certain point of sales. Before that, I mean, I was just using Excel. Yeah. But yeah, I can't believe how helpful it is to now have a record of like all the bunches of kale that I sell in all the different directions, kind of like almost monthly categorized for me. So I can be like, oh, look at, I should just plant twice as much kale as I normally have in the spring because I'm selling all of it. And it's really cool. It's so cool to collect records about your business and then just be able to make better decisions. It's like so magical.
So even if you're very adverse to it, it's a good thing to do.
Do you know who beat me up about it? Julia Shanks. Julia Shanks really
Good.
hammered home QuickBooks and record keeping on me. So she was the bully that got me to be better. But I owe her a lot. I'm grateful for her, like really punching me in the face with QuickBooks. But yeah, I mean, again, all of these professionals are here to help us be good beginning farmers and then, you know, more mature farmers. So you just got to use the resources that they have for you, even if it seems scary.
Great. Are there any questions from the people participating in this Zoom tonight? Anyone have anything else that they're curious about for Mac or Anna or Jack or Lyndon or Alice?
I have a Lyndon question if no one else has anything, but I feel like I've been talking a lot. So if there's other questions, I'll let them go first.
Well, I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand or anything, so I think you can go back.
Is Lyndon still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Sweet, thank you. You said something about SAM's registration during your PowerPoint. I have never heard of this. If I do a SAM's registration, am I like of greater eligibility for things?
No, it's like it's almost like a social security number thing. It's an identification number for government funding.
So if I haven't needed to do it yet, I don't really need to do it.
Right.
Okay. Huh.
But I guess it's good to be aware of depending on the funding you're applying for.
Yeah,
To watch for, because it actually takes a while for it to process.
Interesting.
So, Lyndon, for the REAP grants or awards, if Mac is looking for a generator this year, is there something that like a solar power generator or some sort of energy efficient generator that you look for?
F-150 Lightning. How about one of those?
I mean, I would recommend talking to the energy coordinator. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's possible to get some kind of a generator through the program.
Oh, that's promising. Thank you.
Or an electric truck.
Or electric truck, yeah. Or electric
Really?
truck.
Really?
But
Electric trucks can go in that?
I'm not quite sure where you're going to plug it in, but yeah, go ahead. I've heard farmers that have electric tractors and other electric equipment. Sometimes it doesn't go so well. Sometimes it does, I guess. I don't know that it's a perfected technology yet, but for farm equipment, but having never operated one, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I've been hearing like really not great reviews about electric vehicles up in the Northeast being very cold, and I'm just like,
Yeah, that's what
My
I've heard.
Prius is great. My
That's a
Prius is.
hybrid,
Well,
Emily.
yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah.
I
We have a
think the
Prius in
cars
my
are a
family
little
too.
different.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Different than a tractor out in the field, I think, but who knows?
I don't know if anyone has seen I think it's Troy Built tractor, or maybe it's Tillmore. I can't remember. It's one of those two, but they took an Alice Chalmers G and just like put a huge battery pack on it. And I don't know if that's the electric tractor you're talking about, but it is really cool. I saw it at the Young Farmers Conference a few years ago, and I wanted one immediately. And then I looked to see how much it cost and could not write a grant to get that to happen, but maybe one day.
Yeah, I imagine repairs are fairly expensive as well, so. Because I know they can be costly if you need a new battery in an electric vehicle, so.
Yeah, truth. It's nothing like my $5 parts that I get to slap on my old like 1950s Ford tractor.
Or a horse and a and a plow.
Oh, see, but then I need a barn. And I'm gonna need a lot more cover crop seed to feed my horses. So
Yeah, but
Let's
then
get
you
these
can ride
records
the horse when
going.
you're bored and you want to actually relax.
What a fun group, Emily. Way to pull this together.
Thank you all for coming. If there's no more questions, I'll be collecting slides from the presenters. So presenters, you'll see an email from me. It's coming up soon, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. I've been really bad at emails lately. I feel like I'm a week behind on them. So hopefully they will be soon. And for people who are coming to this workshop, there will be slides that I will send out to you after I get them, and then add them to a website and then all that other stuff. So give me another week or two after that. There'll be a recording of this that'll go up on YouTube. And we'll also get a resource sheet put together for you of all of the like fun things that we learned tonight. It'll be a little one-pager, so it'll be a good reminder of what we learned. There'll be another workshop coming up soon. After you leave this Zoom tonight, a thing will pop up. It's a survey. Please fill it out. Please. It's so nice to have surveys that get filled out, so that we can do the grant deliverables where they say, please fill out surveys so that we know if we're being helpful or not. And hopefully we're being helpful. And I hope that you all learned something tonight. Yeah, I think that's all I've got. So thank you all for coming.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Emily.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Have a good night.
See ya.